Patrick Beneil here at the intermission, and time to put a spotlight on local hockey as we're now joined by Robbie Sinclair, who's head coach of the Glace Bay under-13 boys hockey team at the highest level in that particular league. Robbie, tell us about the league. I think it was previously known as the Major Pee Wee League, may have a different name now, but tell us about the league you coach in.
The league is actually a new league that was started last year. It's on a 2-year pilot program where they gave it last year. They actually felt like things went pretty well with the league. It's a provincial league where I think there's 16 teams in total. We have 3 Cape Breton teams, Glace Bay, the county, and Cape Breton West. You just play provincially. They wanted to make sure we had parity across the province as much as they could, so they decided to go like the major Bantams, put this league together.
What we're seeing is like what we saw previously in the Bantam and Midget leagues. Once you get to that highest level, you're playing on a fewer amount of teams in each region. Walk us through what the debate was like if you were part of it in forming this league, and if you get a sense that this pilot project will be approved to go forward.
I was somewhat a part of it. In the early stages, I actually wasn't for it. I felt like it was going to be a difficult situation for the kids locally because if they are playing at this level, then they're traveling in Pee Wee. Then if they continue in Bantam and then they continue in Midget, I just worried about the kids maybe just being too much on the families, whether financially or just on the kids with burnout with traveling all the time. It wasn't too bad last year. Obviously, because of where we are, we do travel more than everybody else. But the caliber of hockey was excellent, and I think it will prepare the kids probably a little better than in the past for moving on to Major Bantam or moving on wherever they go after they finish the league. I think it will continue. I know it was a really close league, so I think they were pretty happy with how things turned out.
When does the season begin, and have you had any issues with COVID-19? Did that provide any challenges or make things different than they were last year?
We started later, obviously. The hockey in general started later. We're still in the process of picking our team. It's going to be a bit different because last year, several of the tournaments were considered league games, whereas this year, I'm not even sure if there's going to be any tournaments. From what I'm hearing, it's probably just going to be a 30-game schedule with no tournaments at all. It will be different this year, but I think for the most part, they're hoping that they can at least carry out that schedule.
So usually we'll focus on all the teams in Cape Breton. We're just kind of singling out Robbie here to look at Cape Breton generally. I know these are young kids at this point, but who are some of the names you're watching for on your team and the other 2 Cape Breton teams?
We actually have 4 players back. We have Brody Dawson, Colin McNeil up front, and then we have Carter Ford and Gavin Suds on the points. We actually had a pretty old team last year, so a lot of those guys have moved on to Bantam. We're retooling here this year. I think the county's in a similar position. They may have maybe an extra guy. I know Brody Ford and Cole McIsaac are big guys for them. And then the West, they kind of had a younger team last year. I think they actually probably have more than any of us coming back. They'll probably be a bit stronger this year for sure than they were last year.
It's a provincial league. You have 3 Cape Breton teams playing at the highest level. Prior to the formation of this league, what was the structure like? How many teams would you have had at the top level in this age group?
In the past, we would have had our own Cape Breton league. There would have been the league with Truro and Pictou, and then there would have been the huge Halifax league. So there would have been quite a few more teams. I don't know the exact number. So what they've done now is they've kind of put associations together that had smaller numbers, because if you look at a team like Bedford, I think this year they had 146 kids try out for the team, whereas we would have maybe 70 kids in all of Pee Wee. In Glace Bay, and the county's probably similar. So they put Glace Bay and Sydney together, and they put North Sydney and the county together to try to make stronger teams, and doing so cut down the number of teams provincially.
Everybody following Major Junior generally has a grasp on what we used to call the Major Midget League, because that feeds into the queue. I personally have had the chance to take in the U13 games, and they're really good. This is noteworthy in your league because it's the highest level of play without hitting. What does the game look like in terms of skill? Would people be very impressed by it, and how systemized is it at that age, or is it still kind of freewheeling?
It depends on which program you're looking at. For the most part, hockey today at the highest level has some part of system in it. It's inevitable. Like you mentioned, this is the top league in the province. You are seeing the best kids at this age group provincially. If you're coming out to the games, it's going to be as good as it gets for 13 and under across the province.
Pretty high caliber hockey for sure. A lot of people keep their eye on local hockey, but they may not be as familiar with your career because you went away to the U.S. at an early age. You're captain at Princeton. You're there for 4 years, and you play a number of games in the ECHL. Tell us a little bit about your career, what some of the highlights were.
Well, I had a great experience in minor hockey here. I had really good teams growing up in Glace Bay and some excellent teammates. And the same when I played Major Midget here. We had phenomenal teams that could compete with anyone, anywhere. So I was really lucky, and like you said, at 17, I went to Princeton, played 4 years, and then I played 4 years professionally after that. And then I had to make a decision, and I decided to go back to school and become a teacher, and I coached a couple of years at UMB, and then I moved here when I met my wife and moved home.
Very well suited to coach at this level. Lastly, I'll ask Robbie, what does it look like this year for fans? You're going to have people in the buildings?
Hard to say.
To be determined.
Yes, it's kind of up in the air. Some buildings seem to be okay with it, and others aren't. And some leagues are, and some aren't. I'm really not sure what it's going to look like.
Uncertainty is plaguing all of us at the moment, but I think it's great insight into a league a lot of people may not know a lot about. So thanks for telling us all about it, Robbie. Best luck this season.
Thank you very much.
That's Robbie Sinclair. He is the head coach of the Glace Bay Under-13 boys hockey team playing in the new Provincial League in its second year. You're listening to the intermission of McDonald Auto Hub, Cape Breton Eagles Hockey, 1270 CJCB.